What's up, y'all? It's Garrett with Rough Draft Games, and today I wanted to make a video showing you how to play Bouquet Cybernetic Assault and announce that it is now available on our Tabletop Simulator mod for Bouquet. So if you're waiting for your physical copy to come in, you can check it out on TTS and give it a run through. So definitely want to make sure you are at least familiar with Bouquet before trying to understand Cybernetic Assault. But Cybernetic Assault is our solo and two-player variant. It allows you to play with less than 3 players and adds in some AI players for you to supplement and get you up to that 3-player count. And also just provides a nice little difficulty jump if you're looking to hone your skills or get a little bit better at the game. Maybe you got that one guy that's always beating you, or your mom keeps throwing the hurt on you. This is a great way to get a little practice in. So components are, you're going to have the purple AI player deck, the yellow AI player deck, and both of these just correspond to a normal base game player deck. It has the same 13 cards. You have the robo deck, an 8 card deck of instructions that each AI player will utilize to follow. They will share this deck, so on their turn, they will draw the top card and follow the instructions. So yellow would draw this card, and then purple would draw the next card, and then so on and so forth, just following the instructions as you go. We'll get in more how those work and the color splits later. And then there's an AI programming card, which is basically a list of priorities that the AI will try to follow when completing certain actions. It is the same size as the RoboDeck in the physical version of the game. We made it a little bit larger for text, easier to read text in Tabletop Simulator. These little bags are not used in the physical game. They're just used in Tabletop Simulator to simulate what a deck is with non-card components. And then if you're loading into the Bouquet mod, just come up to the top right corner and you will have all the components you need, and you can just pull those down. And then replace the purple and yellow deck in the base game with the AI substitutes, and then we recommend either using green or red as the player color in order to help distinguish the contrast there. All right, so let me jump down here and just kind of showcase the individual components and how the game is going to work. So as I said, the yellow and purple player have decks that are exactly the same as a human player. They have some circuitry on them so that you can distinguish them as you're playing them. And then the general outline of the game is going to go. We'll talk through a solo game, and then for a 2-player game, you'll just instead of doing 2 AI hands, you'll just run 1, and then 2 human players will play against that 1 AI. You can choose purple or yellow; they're both the same. So the general flow is going to be, you're going to flip the top card of the robo deck, you're going to follow its instructions, and then draw a card from the AI player's little petals deck, and then either reveal it or unreveal it and complete the action. And reveal it being face up, unrevealed being face down. So in general, the AI players will treat each other as enemies, and they will also treat the human players as enemies. So purple can pluck yellow petals and vice versa, and then you can pluck either set of petals. You're competing to beat. You obviously want to come in first place, but purple and yellow AI players have their scores calculated individually. In general, there is Nightmare Mode, which does add the scores together. And in order to play Nightmare Mode, you have to declare out loud, audibly, that you are playing in Nightmare Mode before you even draw your hand, before you set up. You got to sit down at the table, open the box, and say, I'm playing in Nightmare Mode, or else it doesn't count. And once you start, it's either you win or you lose. You can't quit. You can't switch. You gotta see it through. So that's Nightmare Mode. The point values are the same for the AI player petals. The one exception is the wilted petal, and it kind of has a scaling point value depending on the difficulty. So in easy, it's normal, it's -2 points, and then in our medium difficulty, it's 0, and then on hard, it is worth 2 points. It stays at 2 points for Nightmare Mode. The only difference with Nightmare Mode and hard mode, and medium and easy for that matter, is that easy through hard, you consider the score separately. So if purple scored 10 points, yellow scored 9 points, you as the human would need to score 11 points to get first place and beat out purple. In Nightmare mode, you add the two scores of the AI players together. So 10 plus 9 would be 19. So you would need to score at least 20 points to win outright in Nightmare mode. Otherwise, they still treat each other as enemies. So like while you're playing the game, purple would still be able to pluck yellow and vice versa. Okay, so let's go over kind of how to utilize the Robo deck to simulate what a player would do. So there's basically two actions. We'll say 2.5. There's placing and plucking. The Robos are not going to have a hand of card. Instead, you're just going to draw the top petal from their deck and then execute the action. They're a little bit more evolved than us humans. They're a little bit more efficient, and they don't have to worry about drawing petals back into hand. So you're at a little bit of a disadvantage there. So with place, you'll either get an unrevealed place action, as I have here, or you'll get the revealed place action, as I have here. And what I mean by unrevealed is face down, and then revealed would be face up, revealing what the type of petal that it is. And then we have pluck petal initiative here, and then whenever you pluck a petal, you'll also draw the next card from the Robo deck, and then consult the two little petal icons on the side of the card to determine the priority that you will want to be targeting as you're controlling the AI. There's also a listing here for counterclockwise or clockwise, the little arrow swirl, and that'll just be the final priority when considering. You go through the priority list, and basically you want to start at the top and work your way down. The first priority you can complete is most important, and then as many other priorities as you can complete is considered as well. And then your final priority will be to then look clockwise or counterclockwise, and that's where the player pawn is going to come into effect. So to set up, you'll just place the player pawn anywhere on the little main bud here, and then you'll consider this as the first tiebreaker, second tiebreaker, third tiebreaker, and then so on and so forth as you work your way clockwise around the bud, or if it's counterclockwise, depending on whatever the card says. But you'll just consider that as your final tiebreaker. So if two slots were tied and all other priorities, let's say this is an eligible slot and this is an eligible slot, it would then choose this spot because that's the first in the clockwise order that it would choose to resolve. Okay, so let's go through a couple of examples of how to play for the AI players. So you're going to take your turns as normal. You're going to shuffle your deck, shuffle the AI players' decks individually, and then also shuffle the Robo deck up. And as I said, both AI players are going to be drawing from the Robo deck. So let's assume this is the setup that we have here, and we're somewhere in the middle of the game before the side buds have entered into the equation. So you're going to draw the top card off the Robo deck, and then since this is the early portion of the game, before the side buds are added, you're going to follow the white half set, the top half, the white set of instructions here. So this is to place a petal unrevealed, and then our final priority will be clockwise. So let's look at our priority list here. So the AI player wants to lock its most valuable petal. So it can place a petal in two ways to lock its own petal, but we want to consider what would be most valuable. So when considering value, if the petal is face up, consider that to be its point value. So a standard flower petal would be worth 1 point, a bee petal 3, do 4, and then depending on your difficulty, that's what the wilted petal is worth. For face down petals, consider those to be worth 2.5 points. So a little bit, not quite as good as a bee, and a little bit better than a wilted petal on the hardest difficulty. Definitely better than a standard petal. So in this case, if we're placing a petal face down, we would place the petal here because that is going to lock in the bee petal there, and then lock in the green petal there because it's going to go opposite, obviously. So it locks in a petal worth 3 points, and it doesn't consider that it's helping the green player out here. Let's say instead, even if this were face up and it knew that this was a do pedal, theoretically, it would not consider that do pedal. It considers first and foremost that it is giving itself a bonus of 3 points there. So let's say that it had instead drawn, let's say it didn't draw this card. It had drawn the card instead that says that it would like to place a pedal face up. So let's take this card back and let's draw it and then reveal it. Oh, it's a do pedal. Well, that changes the calculus a little bit because now we can potentially lock in the do pedal at 4. This is a 4-point pedal, and the B pedal is only a 3-point pedal. So it would instead choose to place the pedal there. It then has the option to lock in this pedal or this pedal, and it wants to lock in the most valuable pedal, being the 4-point pedal. So that's going to go there. Let me grab a blocking pedal, throw that down there. And then we will get my decks out of the way, place our side bud there. Okay. So that's generally how it's going to work for the action system. You're going to follow the instructions and again go through the order and then consider the top priorities as the highest priorities and then complete as many as you can as you go down. So even though in the first example, we would have locked in the B pedal, we would have created a B gap, that is okay because we are following the priority of locking in the most valuable pedal. All right, let's go to another example here, and let's say it's the yellow player's turn. He draws the Robo deck card that says place a pedal unrevealed. So let's draw a pedal, let's place it unrevealed. Let's look at our priority list here. We want to lock our own most valuable pedal. We can't do that. So the next priority would be to complete a cluster of 3. So clusters would be any grouping of pedals, consecutive groups of pedals. So it can complete a cluster of 3 in 2 ways. It could either place the pedal here or it could place the pedal here. So it's got 2 options, here or here. And we then want to continue going down the list to see what else we may come into contact with. So it wants to make sure that it either fills a B gap or ensures that it does not leave a B gap. So if the AI player were to place the pedal here, it would leave a B gap, meaning it would leave a space for, let's say, the human player to come in and slide a B pedal in right there. So it wants to avoid doing that. So instead, it would prioritize placing the pedal right there. Continuing on down the list, it would also ensure that it is opposite and central the largest cluster if possible, and then the final priority would be to go clockwise. So in this case, it first and foremost wants to complete a cluster of 3. It is going to do that. So then that limits the eligible options to this and this. It then wants to make sure it doesn't leave a B gap. So the only eligible option is this slot right here. Okay, so let's look at another example here. So let's say we draw the Robodeck card that says place a pedal revealed. So let's go through the list. Can we lock the most valuable pedal? No. Can we complete a cluster of 3? No. Can we make sure that we fill a B gap? No, but we can make sure that we don't leave a B gap. So we will prioritize that. And then we will go opposite and central the largest cluster. So again, we want to come opposite and central this largest cluster here. And what that means is it's going to prioritize going on the opposite side of the bud and then ensuring that it's as central as it can be to that cluster. So this is the ideal spot right here. Now, one thing to note with the AI players is they ignore any placement restrictions. The B is eligible to be placed by the AI. It doesn't have to necessarily be between two other pedals. It can go just like this. It can go solo. And then, you don't want to worry about the face down do pedals. You don't want to have to remember if that was across from another pedal when you placed it. So AIs have evolved past the annoying placement restrictions that we as humans have to worry about. So had the yellow player's pedal been here instead, the purple player would have had this option or this option to consider when placing its pedal. Both of those are as opposite and as central as they can be from the largest cluster. So it's going to then resort to its final priority going counterclockwise. So it's going to start here and then work its way around the bud until it gets to its first eligible slot. So it would consider between this slot, and then working away counterclockwise, it decides on that spot. A couple more examples here. So let's say we were to reveal and place a petal, working our way down the priority list. It wants to complete a cluster of 3. So we have a couple options to do that. We could complete our cluster there, we could complete our cluster here, or we could complete our cluster here. So continuing on down the priority list, we want to fill a B gap. So that's easy to do. We can make sure we fill the B gap by placing the petal here. And then if we had decided to place the petal here, we're not only leaving this B gap open, but we're creating a new B gap. So it would prefer to place its petal here. And then our last example is going to be, let's say we were to draw this for the yellow player. It wants to reveal and place a petal. So let's look at our priorities. Let me grab the priority card here. Sorry about that. We want to first lock our own most valuable petal. Can't do that. We can complete a cluster of 3, so we're going to do that. And then we want to make sure that we don't leave any B gaps. So options are here and here. So let's throw this down in either slot, depending on our final priority. We're going to go counterclockwise. So starting here, working our way around, we'll go and end up right there. Now let's say it's the purple player's turn. He draws a card from the Robo deck, and he is going to reveal and place a petal. So let's say he reveals the B petal here, and he's going to work his way to decide, all right, he cannot complete a cluster of 3. He will then decide to go opposite and central the largest cluster. So he's going to go right there. No final tiebreaker needed. All right, so that's basically how you're going to be, those are most of the scenarios you may come across when placing petals in the early game. And by early game, again, that's before the side buds are placed. Let's look at a pluck example here. So let's say it's yellow's turn, and it decides it wants to, or rather it draws the Robo deck card that says it's going to pluck a petal. So when we draw that card, which one was this? Yeah, this was the one I had placed on there. So let's draw a card from yellow. So it will discard a petal. Then, in order to pluck, it's going to reveal the next card in the Robo deck and check the 2 petal icons that we have here on the side of the card. So it will either be do, face down, or just face up standard petal. Let's see if I have any of those. I don't think I have any ready, but do, face down, or standard face up petal. It's going to prioritize the petal and type in white first, then the petal type in purple. The color doesn't matter for the petals themselves. So although I coincidentally am using the green player, if you were playing with red or whatever, it's still prioritizing plucking the type of petal, not necessarily the color. So it wants to first and foremost target a dew petal. So it's going to, there's only one option here, this dew petal. And so it would discard its yellow petal from the top of its deck unrevealed. It's going to pluck this dew petal, and then that would also pluck this flower petal and this wilted petal. That would give green 2 bonus place turns. Let's say instead it had, let's take this, let's replace this here. Let's say instead it were trying to resolve this pluck action. It had drawn, and it wants to pluck up a dew petal. So it can either pluck the green petal or the purple petal. And so let's look at our list of priorities here. We are going to first, we drew our card, we resolve the priority white purple, and then I forgot to mention, should neither of those options be available, if there were no dew petals or no wilted petals, it would then just default to any non-wilted petal. So any petal that is not a face-up wilted petal, it's open to plucking. All right, so its next priority would be to check the edge of a cluster of 4. So a cluster of 4 here, so it would prefer to pluck this dew petal as opposed to this dew petal. And that also satisfies the next criteria, which is to avoid B gap. So, well, in this case, the dew petal would clear that B gap, but in general, it's also taking care of that. So it's going to pluck the dew petal. It would then pluck this yellow petal, which stays the same. All right, so that's how the pluck actions are done. Let's do a couple of later game examples. So once you place the side buds, you're going to rotate the robo deck over to the purple side, and you're also going to rotate the programming card over to the purple side as well. And you're going to start following those instructions. So in the later game, the AI player will prioritize certain types of petals depending on what type you draw. Let's look at our AI programming card here. So if you're placing face up and it's wilted or a B petal, it'll be a vase contender slot. And so what we mean by vase contender slots in this example, it would be this slot, or this slot, or this slot. Anywhere that the vase is eligible to be placed at the end of the game. For normal petals, you're going to throw those on the side bud to accelerate the game towards its end state. For do petals, you want to be touching the most enemy B or face down petals. Final considerations, again, make sure you're avoiding B gaps, and then its final consideration will be to go across from another petal. So if this petal were here and the purple player were taking a turn and no other options were available, it would then come all the way around and go across from that petal. And that's just going to prevent the human player from loading up do petals. For plucking, it's pretty much going to stay the same. You're going to draw the next card, resolve the priority. You're going to keep looking at white, then purple, then any non-wilted, and then a vase contender spot would be its next consideration. So again, any of these slots here that are eligible to be plucked. And then if it can, it will avoid B gaps. So that's the basic gist. You're gonna keep cycling through as you need to. You'll reshuffle the robo deck cards into an 8-card deck. Remember, both of the AI players are pulling from the same robo deck, and they are resolving their actions individually. When they get the bonus place action, I forgot to talk about that, but let's go through that really quickly. If they get a bonus place action, so let's say the yellow player were to pluck this do petal, it would then trigger the place action. So it will draw the next card, and if either of the two petal icons are face down, it's going to place a petal face down, and it's going to just follow the priority list from earlier. So it's going to place a petal face down. So in this case, a face down petal wants to go in a vase contender spot if possible. If not, it wants to avoid B gaps and then go across from another petal. So it would draw this face down. It's going to fill in a B gap and it's going to go right there. If one of the two petal icons is if both of the two petal icons are face up when you draw, like this, you would reveal what the petal is and then place it accordingly. All right, so that's the basic rundown of how to play. I'm going to probably make 2 more videos, one a full game playthrough, and then maybe another full game playthrough with Thomas and I doing a 2-player and throwing in a single AI player. So that was Bouquet, Cybernetic Assault, a little how to play video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask those in the comments. If anything needs a little additional clarity, we would be happy to assist. If you haven't checked out our Patreon, please do so, and we would love to see you over there, hang out, maybe send you a couple free games over the year. And be sure to check out Bouquet coming out